Okay, everybody, saddle up. We're talking about horses and Shakespeare. And actually, we're going to do a segment of horses and Shakespeare together. Two different subjects. But anyway, I'm going to say welcome to Caitlin McDonald. She is with Heart of the Horse. It's a wonderful organization that's national, and we have a Mississippi chapter of it. And Caitlin is, I met her down at the Dixie National. I'll tell you about that in a minute, but I just want to tell you, first of all, about the news yesterday. What a day. First of all, came the thing with England with the trade thing. That was great. And I was out doing some things in my yard, and I came back in my house, and I had the TV on. I always have TV on. And here's this billowing white smoke, and I said, oh my gosh, we got a pope. I'm Catholic. We got a pope. This is really cool. So I was going to do some other yard work, but I figured that, the yard will always be there, but this is history. And what an exciting thing that we have an American. I mean, that's amazing. Although if you listen to him, he doesn't sound particularly American because he's lived overseas for so long. He was in Peru for a number of years, and he's also lived in Italy. And he speaks those languages fluently, all three of those. Plus, he can do Latin stuff because he's first and foremost a priest. But Pope Leo XIV, congratulations, and that's just really exciting. And if you think about, it was a great day for the USA yesterday because this whole thing, this trade agreement with England, that's a big deal in terms of politics. That's a very big deal. Got the first one down, and more to come. So we got that, and then here comes a pope from the United States. I mean, it's all very, very cool and a wonderful thing. Well, the sad thing was the day before I had seen an article somewhere, and Lance, you probably know about this, but Brad Arnold, the lead singer, you don't have your head, oh yeah you do, Brad Arnold, the lead singer of Three Doors Down. Well, he and his first wife, Terica, used to live 2 doors away from us, and in my subdivision. And this was some years ago. I don't know how many it was. It was the first part of the century, I guess. I'm not sure. But anyway, but they lived there, and you never heard any sound from them or anything like that. I mean, they were very quiet people. Brad, it turns out, he wanted a quiet place at the reservoir, it turns out, where he could write music. From the Gulf Coast, they're from Escatawpa. One a place where he could write music and, just kind of get away from the world. Every now and then there'd be a big tour bus out there, but you just never heard anything. Well, one day he was walking down the street and Bert was coming down the street, and Bert Case, and they met. Well, neither one of them knew who each other is or was at the time because, Brad from Escatawpa didn't know a news guy from up here, and the news guy from up here didn't know rock and roll. He was a country music guy. So they started talking. Well, as they continued their conversation, Bert said, well, come on over to my house. So it so happened that we had a bottle of Grey Goose, and it so happened that they demolished the bottle of Grey Goose while solving the problems of the world. I wasn't in on the conversation. I went off. I went to bed. I mean, they were till all hours of the night, but they became good friends, and for a brief period of time, and that was nice. But so Brad Arnold was this week diagnosed with it was kidney cancer that went to the brain, right? And that's who knows what what the treatment will be, and hopefully there could be a good prognosis because there are wonderful miracles that do happen. But anyway, that's a tough situation that they're dealing with. But that's a former neighbor. Wanted to tell you that. Okay, now let me welcome Caitlin McDonald. So when we had the Dixie National, a few months ago, I was down there looking to find a gaited horse saddle, walking around the marketplace there. And I think you might have had, welcome, by the way, you might have had a video of horses. And I said, oh, horses, so we started talking. And that's when I found out about this called Heart of the Horse. It's an expo and training challenge coming to the Fordice Center. It's 120 days, but listen, 30 untrained horses, 30 trainers who took these untrained horses and made them into fabulous, and we've got some pictures, fabulous animals. Congratulations on that. Hi, welcome.
Hi, Mary. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really, really excited to be here. I've got so much exciting information to share about our event, the horses, the trainers. I'm really excited to brag about everybody.
Oh, I think you should. Where do these horses come from?
All right, so the group of horses that we had, we tried to get 30 so that the trainers would have a lot to pick from. We were able to vet them. We had all sorts of things done to make sure that these horses were going to be ready to join their journey. Mississippi Horses is a huge sponsor of the event. Most of the horses came from them. A few of the horses did come from other rescues on the Mississippi Gulf Coast, as well as Cedar Hill Sanctuary. We just, we want to pull everywhere that has opportunities to get these horses that need training and give them an opportunity to work with these trainers and just have a great story and a goal in their life.
And who are the trainers? That's a lot of trainers.
Oh, it is a lot of trainers.
Are they all Mississippians? Are from Mississippi, pretty much?
Quite a few are from Mississippi. Let me pull up my little cheat sheet really quick.
Okay.
I didn't want to forget someone on accident.
While you're doing that, you sent us some pictures. I got some pictures offline, but then when I didn't see it till this morning because I go to bed early, but I saw the pictures that you sent. Oh my God, these are fabulous.
Yeah, I've got them. I have them rotating through.
I mean, these are beautiful animals. They're just absolutely stunning, and they look like these guys were, a lot of them, just unwanted, I guess, neglected. I mean, and thank God for stupid people that they can get these wonderful horses to people like you and the organization, And
I love the brown one.
Which one?
He's kind of standing. You're taking a shot of his left side, not you or me or anybody, but the picture of him.
What's his
name?
name?
He's kind of looking over. He can tell you're taking a picture, and he's like being very photogenic.
Is it Boots?
I'm not sure. I'm not looking at the website.
Because they've got names on them.
Oh yeah, I tried to send the pictures over that had their name, who their trainer was, and just a little bit about them.
Yeah.
So that way it gave a good bit of information in a short segment.
It could have been Boots, but I mean, they're all just so beautiful. You can go ahead and name, and so people are seeing them on the air. Are they? Some of them are gaited horses. Some of them, right?
Yes, some are gaited, some are trotting. So if we kind of circle back and go with our Mississippi trainers, we've got Lexi. She's from the Canton area. She has that beautiful red chestnut gelding, Blazing Billy. She's doing a great job with him. He's such a superstar right now. She's riding him around bridleless. When she picked him up in January, he was barely halter broke, barely led around.
Beautiful stripe on his face, by the way.
Oh, yeah, he's stunning. And now she's just riding him around bridleless, picking flowers with him. He's going to be such an amazing horse.
Lila is the one I was referring to in the amateur division, Lila.
Oh, there she is.
Oh, look at her giving the side eye.
She's beautiful.
Looking at you like, hey, I like that picture.
I like that. Well, so that's amazing. What was Billy's story? Do you know what his story was? How you got him, or what condition was he in? Or
Billy is one of the horses that came from the rescue on the coast. We didn't meet him until January. The rescue that he came from brought him up there, and he just joined us in January. That was the first time we ever met him.
We know that he's 5 years old. That's about all we know about him, right? That's it?
Pretty much all we knew about him.
Did all these horses, were they at least halter broke, where you could put a halter on them?
Sort of.
Oh.
Defining halter broke is we were able to get a halter on them. Not so much that they all really knew what to do once it was on them.
But at least they didn't fight it. Well, necessarily. It depends on what you could do, right?
One of our horses, it took about 2 hours actually to get him haltered, loaded, and put on the trailer with his trainer, Melinda. He's the one that you see. She's riding him around. It's a little bay roan, and she's riding him with no bridle, no saddle, anything. There's nothing. It's Murphy. And it took forever to get get him going, just because he was just running around. Free, wild, feral stallion, and now look at him.
Wow. How in the world anybody could get their hands on him to begin with, to get him someplace, to go someplace. And loading, I happen to know, folks, loading is not an easy thing. I was supposed to ride my horse, who I no longer have. Everybody's heard a lot of these stories. We were supposed to ride in the Dixie National Parade, and she would not load into that trailer. She would not load. She would not get in there. We tried everything. Finally got her in the trailer. By then it was too late to leave where we were up in Madison County to get down there, but and she was not a feral horse necessarily. Well, she was a Leo. She was a Leo, and Leos are apparently pretty stubborn about stuff, not just mares. But I have a friend, an acquaintance, who's got a stallion, and he's kind of that way too. He's just, no, I'm going to do it my way. But anyway, this is Murphy, and you can see she's the person riding the horse. She doesn't have a saddle, and she's got a turquoise top on because Lance is rolling these pictures. Okay, go ahead on some of these other ones.
Oh, yeah. She's in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. And if we just, since we're here in Mississippi, we'll circle back to Boots. He was a foxtrotter that was donated from his breeder in Hazelhurst, Mississippi. He was donated to the challenge along with Gambler. But Gambler's in Kentucky with Colby O'Connor. Betsy Monday at Monday Morning Acres in Terry, Mississippi. She's the trainer that has Boots. She's actually also the champion of last year's challenge, so she's coming back to defend her title. We'll see what happens there. I'm really excited.
What? Okay, now this is a Missouri Foxtrotter. I have never ridden one. All I know is I'll say this about Tennessee Walkers. It's the hindquarters that guide them. You see, we used to have that show here, and you could just see their hindquarters grind along, and the forelegs just kind of trot. But a Missouri Foxtrotter is kind of the opposite, right? Explain that.
I don't really want to give you total misinformation. I'm not as educated as probably like the breeder
You're
or
pretty educated.
Missouri Foxtrotter people, but the specific thing that makes Missouri Foxtrotters extremely special is that they can walk, trot, and canter just like a normal quarter horse could, but they also have their very specific gaits as well that makes them unique to that Foxtrotter breed.
Well, you said your husband has one.
He does.
And you said it's like riding an escalator?
Yeah, they're just so smooth. You never really feel anything just chaotic happening with them. He says he will never ride a trotting horse again. That's the only thing he's riding from now on.
Well, I used to think that people who rode gaited horses, I thought, oh, these people are lazy. They're not having any fun. You got to get like a quarter horse. And I learned on 3 and 5 gated, which is fascinating. And like, yeah, you got to trot, you got to post the trot. And I'm thinking, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. That's crazy. I'd like to just sit back and enjoy the ride. I did have a chance for a few years at where I was. A man didn't ride his Tennessee Walker very much, and he was this beautiful 15-hand, stunning animal. He was going to be a show horse, but he was afraid of the ring, so he became just a domestic riding horse. God, he was beautiful. He was wonderful. So like, oh yeah, I see, that is pretty cool. But anyway, so every year these horses come from all over, and these trainers are from basically Mississippi, and so they have 4 months to make.
They have 120 days. They pick them up in January. They start with them then, and then they come back to Jackson in May, and that's where they compete with them. We do have a few trainers this year. They were some from Tennessee, Kentucky, North Carolina. We did get a little bit broader reach, and so that was a really amazing thing to find out that we're actually reaching into other states, not just Mississippi.
It's called, folks, Heart of the Horse. That's the organization, right? Heart of the Horse.
Yes, it is the Heart of the Horse Trainers Challenge.
Trainers and .org or whatever. It would be .org, I guess it is.
Yes, our website is hohchallenge.org.
hohchallenge.org. And it's going to be May 16 and 17 down at Fordice. That's a Friday and a Saturday down at the Fordice Center. I think I'll probably come that Friday. I'll have to see. But I want to watch this. I mean, this is fascinating stuff.
So it's just my opinion, but if you plan on coming any day to watch anything that's going on, I would come Saturday. Saturday we have our freestyle event, and that is, I don't know if you guys remember, we used to have the freestyle reining that would come in every year to Jackson. I mean, it would just fill up the Coliseum. People were always so excited for this event to see what these people could do with their horses. This is going to be very similar to that, whereas it's not exactly going to be reining horses specifically, but they're going to do liberty routines. There's going to be music, tons of crowd engagement. They're just going to perform for you, basically.
Gosh.
Like everything that they worked on with this horse, all the things they're excited to share with you. They're going to have a set amount of time starting at Saturday at 10, and they'll each come in the arena, get their music going, and just showcase what they've got.
Do some of them do barrels, if you want?
Some of them could do barrels. Everybody's being a little quiet about what their freestyle routine is going to be. Okay. They're not even sharing their songs or anything like that. It's just going to be a big surprise for kind of everybody. Everyone's just really excited to just hit that freestyle and show off.
Oh, that is so cool. What are some of the things, like obviously they'll do, they'll go around the ring and do, ring stuff, whatever you do. It might be pleasure, English or Western. Is it pretty much Western? They look like all pretty much Western saddles, Western tack and everything.
Most of them I'm expecting will show up probably riding Western. However, Lila, she will be one of the thoroughbreds competing. I am anticipating that they might come English. They might jump. Not really sure what they're going to show for us in their freestyle. But we really keep it open to that creativity so they can just show anything they want to in that space.
Somehow I would picture it would be so cool if there could be like a Jumbotron showing what this horse looked like when it first came out of the trailer or before it got on the trailer. Probably pretty sad. I would gather a lot of these horses neglected, right?
A lot of them, when they got to the rescue, did appear to be in pretty rough shape.
Yeah.
But Stephanie at Mississippi
and
Horses,
you see them now.
She's really been helping. Like, we want these trainers to be successful. Like, yes, we want to take the horses, we want to help the horses, but if we don't have trainers coming back every year, we don't get to keep giving these opportunities. So Stephanie really made sure that a lot of these horses, they'd already gained some weight. They had already had some care leading up to their selection at the challenge. That way our trainers weren't having to spend 100 days just trying to get them healthy enough to put a saddle on. We wanted them healthy. We wanted them ready to go for these trainers to teach them things.
I forgot to tell her. I hope she's listening. Therese Apel, who does Dark Horse Press, she has a horse named Bear, who the story on Bear was he was a rescue. The story was he was walking down one of the roads in Brandon, skin and bones. He was a thoroughbred, skin and bones a few years ago, just awful. And he got taken to the Rankin County Animal Shelter. She found out about him and went down and rescued him. And whatever horrible treatment, who knows what horrible treatment. He doesn't want to be ridden necessarily. She can ride him, but they're very close. I mean, they're just, they just love each other. And she's always posts these wonderful pictures of Bear. And it's a great story because he's beautiful. She's got some pictures of him at first when he was pretty bad. And now he's this gorgeous thoroughbred. And I think he's a bay. He's just beautiful. And that's a wonderful story. But, something happened to him that was pretty traumatic. That's another thing, these people, if they don't know the history of these horses, they can have real traumatic backgrounds, can't they?
They can. 2 of the horses were actually pulled by Melissa Daniels helping us out. She was going and attending to some of the auctions that are in Mississippi. I'm pretty confident it was the Mize Mississippi auction. Simone and Olympia were both pulled from that auction by her as candidates for the challenge because they just appeared to be very untrained. They were going to go for extremely low prices and most likely end up in homes that just were not prepared to deal with horses that didn't have manners and didn't know how to behave. But because the cost was so low, people will reach out and try to get them like that. So she pulled these 2 for us. They're both just beautiful mares.
Which ones are they?
It's Simone. She is like kind of a blue roan color. And then Olympia, she's the one that she has a saddle on and she's kind of turned to the side. Yeah. Just looking at how beautiful her tail is, I'm sure.
Oh, just everything. She's got a curly haired tail. And the first one was Simone.
Yeah.
Oh, there she is. Simone is she's a bay. Okay, how can people see these pictures that we're looking at?
So you can see all of the horses on our Facebook page. You can see them on the website. Our Facebook page is Heart of the Horse Trainers Challenge. You can search for it. You'll find us pretty easy. Our website, HOH Challenge. And then we recently, last night, I learned how to connect Instagram to Facebook. So hopefully I can start posting and getting on Instagram as well.
Oh, that's really good. I think I don't have Facebook, but I have Instagram and I've got Twitter X. And so we're going to bring some other people and we're going to bring our Shakespeare people in, but they're going to talk about horses. Just one quick thing. People can buy these horses, right? That's the whole point, to get good homes for them.
However, we do set it up to where it's pre-approved bidders only for it. That way we just know these horses are set up for success. These buyers are set up for success. Our application deadline for this year has ended. However, we do have horses that are going to be available as like showcase horses that have been part of the rescue and have been part of the challenge, just not specifically in the challenge, and they will be available. You can find them as diamond projects on our website also.
When we come back, we're going to have Amile Wilson and Lynn Wentworth. They're here for the Tempest, but they got horse stories. And Caitlin's going to stay, so we'll be right back. Stay where you are on Mary Wieden You. So welcome back to Mary Wieden You. So, in my thing on Twitter X, it says what horses and Shakespeare have in common. We're going to talk about them both. Well, the idea was we were going to do Caitlin with the Heart of the Horse, and then we're going to do the Amile Wilson and Lynn Wentworth about the Tempest. Well, before the show, we're all talking, and these guys, both Lynn, as a kid, right, learned to ride a horse, and Amile has recently really learned how to ride horses, and here you are in charge of you are Mr. Shakespeare Festival, which we're going to talk about in a separate segment. But tell us about your horse experience. This is awesome.
I think a lot of Mississippi kids got an experience as a kid. You just learned sort of at camp, no big deal, ride a few times, go trotting, it's fine. Well, my day job is in movies. I'm one of the guys that brings the movies to Mississippi, and my company also is producing content all over the country. So I was shooting a project in North Dakota, and literally there was a section where you could not get to it except by horseback. So I kind of had to learn how to ride a horse on the fly. And, it's fun. You get used to it. I was a dancer in my first career, and it felt a lot like partnering. You're just weight sharing, your body's communicating with another body. It makes sense.
Wow. So Western saddles, probably quarter horses. Who knows, but probably quarter horses, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Have you done any riding back here since you've done that?
Not here, but on a couple of other projects. I do a lot of Westerns. I do a lot of work on Western movies. And so every time I'm on a Western now, I just talk to the horse wranglers, get on a horse, refresh, feel good again.
Have you ever done anything like that, Caitlin?
I have not.
That would be pretty. I mean, that's trail riding to the utmost. It seems like whoa, that is awesome.
And movie horses. It's a fun game.
They know what to do. I guess the horses. They know if you need them to fall down, God forbid. But if you need them to fall down, they'll fall down.
We've done stunts with horses where
Really?
they're jumping, they're falling down. We've had stunts where a horse falls on a guy, and you gotta have professional stuntmen. A surprising amount of the horse stuntmen were rodeo clowns before becoming, and God bless these guys when they get into their 50s and 60s, they're hobbling around. I mean, you can only have a horse fall on you so many times before it's a serious, serious problem.
Thing. Lynn, how about you? Ever done anything like that? And tell about your horse experience.
Well, we had horses growing up, and everybody rode horses because we lived in a rural area.
Was that in Mississippi?
Yeah.
Where was it in Mississippi?
Right outside of Brookhaven, Meadville, Mississippi.
Yeah. So you just got to ride around as kids, huh?
Yeah.
Oh.
And never had any training, probably weren't good riders, but we could get around pretty good.
Do you use saddles or ride bareback?
Rode bareback a good bit. When the guy got Appaloosa horses, they were so gentle. We could put a string on them,
Wow.
and ride them like that. But
Wow.
kind of like in the movies.
Well, how about you? Did you grow up riding horses as a kid?
I did. I have always had horses. The day I came home from a hospital, my dad saddled up and rode around with me in his arms. I have just been invested in them my entire life.
So lucky. So lucky. I always wanted to have a horse, and my parents were like, well, where are we going to keep it in the wintertime? Who's going to pay for all that? Because I wanted to have it up north on Lake Huron. They thought that would be really cool. So, well, no, I don't know. So it took me to grow up to buy a horse. I only had the one horse. But one day. So that sounds like fun, though. So as a kid, did you just hang out with horses?
I did. Just my whole life. I just was completely immersed in them as a kid. We did youth rodeos. We did all of those things, just the Western events. I decided I wanted to do English and I wanted to jump. Just, everyone has a horse story, and it just pulls so many people together. And just as you meet more people, you get invested in the community, you meet people from other areas, and you just start trying everything.
Wow. I love horses, but I did not ever try. There are two things I don't want to know about or to do. Racing, I think it's disgusting that we race these young horses. They're 2-3 years old, these quarter or thoroughbreds. They're not even, the bones aren't developed yet, and we're racing them. And so that although I did watch the Derby last week. And the other thing is jumping, petrified. I know that they're born to do that, but to have a person on top of them how high a fence did you ever jump?
So when I was younger, I was really brave. I would jump 4-foot fences and things. Now I have a 2.5-foot limit. I like it to be much smaller now.
Well, that's in case you're out riding and you have to jump something. You have to get over a little something, and your horse has to. I taught my horse how to do that. We had some jumping course people for a while out at my barn, and they said, well, you really need your horses need to be able to do that if you're crossing a little stream or something like that. Now, Amile, I don't think. Did you ever do that?
I have not jumped a horse, but I've seen it done. I've seen it done a million times, and it's impressive.
It is.
I have 2 little kids at home and a third on the way. I ain't doing no horse jumping or car crashing or none of those things.
Gotcha. Oh, I love this whole thing about y'all just learning as we are about the heart of the horse that Caitlin's in part of doing, and you're in charge of the whole thing, right? Basically, you're the point person.
I have been trying. The lady that did it last year, Miss Julie Seal, she has been amazing. She is not letting me fail, that's for sure. This is my first time to ever coordinate an event like this, to try doing this. I was really struggling for a little bit, and she has just made sure she has set me up for success. I can't go without mentioning Southern Ag Credit. If it was not for Southern Ag Credit and Outback, Steve Grantham with Outback, and Philip, with Southern Ag, we would not have this event. Without those sponsors, we would not be able to have this event. They have funneled so much into it. They have allowed me to just focus on trying to learn how to do the event, learn how to coordinate, just get everybody pulled in and focus on all the small details to make sure that the event is successful. Next year, I know I'm going to have to hit funding a whole lot harder, but this year we were able to just really get everything going because of them.
Well, how about advertising? You've got this. It's a card that you gave me down at the Dixie National when we were there, and it tells you a little bit about it because I'm like, what? 30 untrained horses, 30 trainers in 120 days. Like, whoa! But have you done any other than this talk show here? Have you done any kind of media work at all?
I don't have a media background. I've never done any kind of media work. But now, for the event, we are on Facebook. I've had to learn how to edit a website. I've had to learn so many new things on this journey. We've got banners up in different places. We have these little flyers,
Yeah.
but mostly I have an article in the Market Bulletin that came out, and just any kind of avenue that we can find to help reach people, see new audiences, just bring them in, make them aware. And social media seems to be really the main place that people get all of their information from now.
Yeah, they get a lot from it. But the talk radio, and there's some TV outlets that do some kind of stuff. I'm not going to give them any publicity, but why should I? They're the competition.
Yeah,
But
you used to be with a couple of
I
those
did.
folks. Yeah.
Yes, I did. As a matter
When
of
you
fact.
were the helicopter lady.
Well,
the
yes,
last
that
time.
was one of my incarnations. Yeah, I did that. I don't know if you knew that. I did.
No.
I did helicopter traffic, and we went down as far as you're from Weston, the Weston Brookhaven area. Yeah, I remember one time we had to go down. There was an overturned truck. Imagine that on I-55, and we had to go down there, and it was a really weird day because there was part fog. I mean, we were mostly above it, or you can get around it. It was safe enough for us to fly. But when we got to the site, though, we could see it. You look at an angle right over the site of this truck was a fog cloud. But the pilot determined that he could get down low enough below it where he could still be safely high, and there weren't any poles around like this. So we're up above the little cloud, and so then we went down into the cloud through it, and I'm praying real hard, oh Lord, please. But anyway, we got down, we got our video of the thing, and up we went and back. But it was fun in the helicopter. That's a whole another thing. Yeah, Caitlin was like, what? Yes, it was interesting, an interesting thing to do. That they went out of business. It was a leased helicopter. And by the way, though, that helicopter and the one they had also, I forget what they called it, Metro One, that was it. Both of them were Robinson R-44s. Robinson was the manufacturer. A guy named Mr. Robinson used to work for Bell Helicopters, and he wanted a small, cheap helicopter, and Bell wouldn't make it, so he went off on his own. So 44 meant it was 4 seats. A Robinson R-22 was 2 seats. Well, this was a 4-seater. There was the pilot, the reporter, and behind the reporter, the photographer, and then over here was all the equipment. So anyway, we did this for years. And helicopters are very, very weird machines that try to tear themselves apart when you start them up, because you're asking them to do things they're not supposed to do, and they're like, no, I don't want to do this. And so they're weird. And you have to have a lot of maintenance. We did have a very good maintenance crew, which was thankful, and I'm grateful for that. But time went by, and so when Kobe Bryant's helicopter went down, I was very curious about that, of course, and I saw that the terrain was shaped like a V, and the pilot thought he was descending, or no, he thought he was ascending. He thought he was going up, and he was going down. And if you touch anything with a rotor, you've lost it. Well, I looked it up on the FAA page, just looking up Sikorsky. That was his. We were Robinson. He was a Sikorsky, and that was a wonderful helicopter. It was pilot error. Well, at the top of I didn't even notice this because I just went looking for Sikorsky. And then I looked back up at the top, and the number 1 helicopter for crashes and fatalities was the Robinson R-44.
Yeah, the one you were in.
Oh, the one I was in. Oh, and Bert used to go in that all the time. Anytime they could, take him up in a helicopter, he thought that was a wonderful thing to do, and all that kind of stuff. That's really scary.
One of my favorite 4th of July parties is up in Carroll County, and there's a local guy that retired from the military and realized he could either buy a sports car or buy a helicopter. And so he bought a helicopter, and he would land in this big field and give everybody helicopter rides.
Oh.
It was a whole bunch of former military.
Yeah.
It was great culture. Yeah. Every once in a while for the fireworks display, they would bring out the signal flares that fell off the back of a truck.
One time we were riding around. I remember this. Come to think of it, out by the reservoir. We were east of the reservoir, somewhere along the Natchez Trace. Anyway, some guy was pulling a horse. He had a rope on him, and he was pulling him behind his pickup truck. But he wasn't going very fast. Thank God, he was not hurting the horse. And we thought that was pretty fascinating. We got video of it. I mean, we would get video of stuff that
You'll see anything in the Delta.
Well, if there wasn't, this was here.
Oh, this was here.
Yeah, this was just here. This is just by the reservoir.
Did Shakespeare have a horse?
Yeah, did he?
I mean, of course. In fact,
they would have.
I think one day we're going to have to get some horses on stage. A horse, my kingdom for a horse.
That's right.
Call Caitlin. She'll
Absolutely. These people, helicopters, sports cars, if they don't have horses, they're missing out.
Yeah, really. Horses do rule. They are fabulous animals, aren't they? So many people have had bad experiences. They won't go back. they'll think, oh, this horse, I fell off of it or it threw me or whatever, and they won't go back. But I think they should go back. Don't you? Find another horse and
They should absolutely go back. I mean, it's just like anything. I mean, if you trip in your driveway, you're going back down your driveway. If you have a wreck in your car, you're getting back in your car. I mean, it's one of those things. It's just part of life. Things are going to happen. You're going to do everything you can to be safe. You're going to prepare them the best you can so that they can take good care of you. And then you'll just enjoy it.
All these horses that are going to be at Heart of the Horse, by the way, once again, it's an expo and training challenge, May 16 and 17 at the Kirk Fordice Center. They're going to they've had training with all kinds of things. If they're going to live in a place with a lot of traffic or whatever, right, Caitlin?
They've got a significant amount of training for all different things. Each trainer kind of specializes in a little different area. So obviously that trainer is going to focus more on their strong points and what they're good at, teaching them these things. Lots of them have trail experience. Some of them are having liberty training. And they're just learning how to be good horses or their future owners.
Well, everybody should go to the Heart of the Horse, May 16 and 17 at Fordice, and it's free.
Yes, free admission. Thank you to our sponsors once again. We get to just make this a great event for everyone.
We're going to say thanks to you. Then we're going to go Shakespeare in our final segment. We're just going to put our horses up in the stable, and then we're going to go. Thanks an awful lot. Good luck with that.
Thank you so much for having me. This was a great opportunity to get to share this with everyone.
We'll be back in just a couple minutes on Mary Wieden and You. We are going to Shakespeare now. Put on your Shakespeare hats, everybody. So Amile Wilson with the, a lot of things. For my goodness sakes, you have an interesting life. Many incarnations, and Lynn Wentworth. So is it tomorrow? Or
No,
Saturday?
It is
when
next
is it?
week.
Okay.
So it's...
What is
I was
that?
focused here and not expecting that. Lynn is a treasure surrounded by treasures. If you have never been to Lynn's house, it is a Madison County standard
like a
home on
museum.
the outside and a British chateau on the inside.
Ooh, really?
It is an homage to all things noble.
Well, and all things cultural. That's why he's the cultural ambassador to the Mary Wieden Show. Absolutely. You know that, right? I mean, so what is this? I'm sorry to say that I don't know the story of the Tempest. I've feebly forgotten it, but this has something to do with it, right? And it's going to be one day.
So no, we're doing May 17th and 18th. That's Saturday and Sunday.
Oh, good.
Saturday, May 17th at 5 p.m. and Sunday, May 18th at 2:30 p.m. We'll be at Smith Park in downtown Jackson, next to the Governor's Mansion.
Yep.
And our rain location will be the Mississippi Arts Center.
Okay. Yeah. And so you do this once a year.
Yep, we do this once a year, and then we have other plays that we produce throughout, including a school tour. So if your school or community center wants a professional production of Midsummer Night's Dream, we'll be touring that along with The Princess and the Pea for younger audiences.
Lynn is laughing. Are you in these things?
Not the Princess and the Pea.
He plays the
looking
pea.
for
Yes, that's
sponsors.
figured you would.
Maybe Sealy Posture Pea.
Muskellies,
yeah.
you are needed
Yeah,
right
Dr.
now.
Seuss.
Your time to shine has
Now, how
come.
about Satva? Have you seen ads for
Yeah, I've
Satva?
seen those, yeah.
Have you ever heard of Satva mattresses? It's on TV. There's a lot of weird stuff on TV, Amile, because you're very busy. You are also with this. Well, your other job, your job, I guess, is it the State Department of Film or what?
No, I have a
Independent?
private company, and we do some advertising and things like that. Produce a lot of content for Siemens and Raytheon, clients. But then we're also one of the main groups that's making movies here in Mississippi.
Wonderful.
Yeah, he just finished one with John Travolta on the coast.
Really?
I just spent 6 weeks on a John Travolta flick on the coast.
Which is called what? And when is it going to be finished? Well, not for a year or two.
Oh gosh, yeah,
It'll be a while.
won't be out for another couple of years, I'm sure.
How was he to work with?
John Travolta was great to work with. Nice guy.
The bigger they are, the nicer they are.
Honestly,
Pretty much.
some of the nicest guys have been the biggest stars. George Lopez was incredible to work with.
I thought you were going to say George Clooney.
Haven't worked with him yet, but yeah, it's. I'm very, very blessed to be able to make a career doing
Cool.
the arts,
Yeah.
and
Cool stuff, too.
we're we're involved in finance. We're involved in logistics and operations as well as the creative side. So basically, soup to nuts, we're involved in film production and then give back to the community with live theater.
Well, since the Trump administration is so all into doing American movies in America, just look at Mississippi. Look at all the things we have. We were talking about this earlier. You got hills up in the northeast part of the state. You have a lot of cool stuff in regular part of the northeast, like Tupelo and all that. And then you've got opportunities here in central Mississippi, the Pine Belt, and then of course the Gulf Coast. I mean, which is how funny they are in the Gulf Coast.
Oh, yeah.
Anything north of I-10 doesn't exist for people on the Gulf Coast.
We've shot in Mississippi and called it Miami, Boston,
Good.
East Los Angeles.
Good.
Yeah.
And the only thing, I don't know what you do with the Delta. I don't know if you.
Oh, I shot my first feature in the Delta.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And Natchez, too.
Do you remember North and South?
Yeah.
When that was made here. Do you remember that? It was Kirstie.
Patrick Swayze in it.
I remember Kirstie Alley was in it, too. And you never hear anything about it. Oh, really? Patrick Swayze was, huh?
Which one was he in the North and the South? Or I know he was
Probably.
in one of those.
Probably, but I don't know who the male was in North and South.
Well,
Kirstie Alley was
I just know him
Robert
from
De
Dirty
Niro
Dancing.
Yes.
did
De Niro?
One of the most inspiring movies of
Great
my
movie.
childhood, by
Great
the way.
movie. You were a dancer, so yeah, it had to
he
have been
did. Robert
inspired.
De Niro did a movie in Natchez last year, and they've got William H. Macy's got a movie coming up down there.
Mississippi actually has had a
months, yeah.
ton of production going. I think there were 3 shooting simultaneously on the Gulf Coast, 2 in central Mississippi. There's a ton of production work in Mississippi.
Good.
If you want to make a living in the arts, Mississippi is actually a pretty good place to
Wonderful. That's wonderful. So, Lynn, how'd you get mixed up with the Tempest? Are you in the Tempest?
Yes.
As?
Francisco.
Because I've forgotten the story of the Tempest. So please tell the story of the Tempest.
I'll tell the story, but my part, I'm an advisor to the king, and kind of like his bodyguard. They needed a big burly guy to do that part. But
The Prime Minister.
I'll let Amile give you the rundown
shoulder
of the
pads.
Tempest. Yeah.
So, The Tempest is it's a magical love story, and it's a fairy story about redemption. It's about redemption. It's about hope. It revolves around an exiled duke and, in our casting case, her daughter, causing through magic a great tempest that brings the royals to their exiled island where they are redeemed and go back to live their lives.
That's a synopsis there. This guy's good.
He knows what to do, don't he? He's real good at that. Yep. Wow, that's amazing. And so, Lynn, you're guarding the
Yeah, it's a minor role, but as we rehearse more, it feels like a more important role than I thought it was to begin with.
Is it a speaking role?
Yes.
Okay. Have you expanded some of the speech on it, or what? Or are you sticking to the script?
Amile and I are working on which accent he wants me to use this time.
Lynn always surprises us with accents, and we love it.
Accents.
Last year, it was such a emotionally jarring scene, and you come in as the priest with that accent, and Raven is trying so hard not to laugh that she just has to start crying to cover it
What
up.
was the accent?
It was perhaps a bit Ukrainian, Mid-Eastern, that part
Middle
of the
Europe.
world. Yeah,
Middle Europe. All you have to do is listen to Melania Trump, and you'll get it. Like remember when he was running the first time. My husband Donald Trump wants to be the president of the United States, and I do German because I speak German, but that's a little bit different. That's a good one. You can
always go back to Lawrence Welk if you need an accent.
Well,
remember what Lawrence said when he had an act on that he really liked. He would say, "They really know how to whoop-de-doo it, don't they?"
Oh, no. And he's an American. He was an American, wasn't he? By the way, I was listening to the new Pope speak English, and it's like he's got an accent that I don't understand. I'm very keen on accents because he's lived away for so many years.
I can only assume he speaks Spanish with an Argentinian accent because it's a whole dialect.
And Peru, yeah. Exactly.
Then That's right,
Peruvian.
Peru.
Yep.
And then
Italian.
He's going to speak Italian, so he's speaking at least plus because of
Latin,
his
because he's Latin.
And then Midwestern English, yeah.
But the Midwest.
I'm also going to assume that he knows Latin and Greek because of his theological training, and Hebrew. So it's just this amalgam of
stuff. But
stuff.
have you heard him speak English though? I mean, he spoke English. I guess maybe it was this morning or late.
Heard the interview with his brother.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, his brother's kind of quiet and silent, all kind of like very low key people. Aren't
That's
they?
the Midwest for you.
Well, I'm a Midwesterner too. I'm from Michigan, and supposedly this is how we talked up there. I don't remember talking like that, but I'm told that I did. I have cousins though. Now, Mary, I'm going to make you a cherry pie. But anyway,
Well, aside from Lynn, most people will be speaking Southern English for our show.
okay, Southern.
But it's a spiritual show, and it has magic and spirits floating around the stage, and people getting hypnotized and losing their powers to fight, and it's going to be great.
And it's free.
And it's free. It's free in downtown Jackson.
Shakespeare, yes.
5 years ago, we knew that in so many other cities and so many other states, you get these Shakespeare in the Park experiences. And our actors, at the time, no one was doing Shakespeare. No one was doing classical theater in Mississippi. And actors want to do that. And if you want to keep professional actors to be able to do shows at New Stage, to be able to do your advertising, then you've got to give them things that they enjoy doing. And so a free Shakespeare in the Park, we are funded through donor support and sponsors. So if you're out there, donor support and sponsors, Mississippi Shakespeare Festival. But come on down. We use a mix of professionals and community members. One of our guys is a librarian who just loves literature and loves Shakespeare. And I love incorporating people that make their entire living as actors and people who are just community members.
May 17 and 18.
Yeah,
That's right. May 17th and 18th in Smith Park with a rain location at the Mississippi Arts Center.
Well, don't miss it. All right, guys. Thanks a lot for coming.
All right.
This
Thanks
is
for
a
having
fun
us.
and crazy show. I enjoyed it a whole lot. Have a good weekend. Take care.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you, man.